What's up, guys? Evan Chino. I am no longer in my friend's bathroom. I am back at my own house. So Michigan has defeated New Mexico 34-17. And here's my thoughts and feelings of the game. I already gave my thoughts during halftime, but here's my overall thoughts of the entire game. Man, I am really impressed with Bryce Underwood. With all of the quarterbacks today, like making their first start, a lot of them were kind of like disappointing, Arch Manning. But man, Bryce Underwood, 21 for 31, 251 passing yards and a touchdown. Dude was a dog out there, man, and it was so nice to see after the absolute tragedy that was our quarterback room last season. Bryce Underwood throws circles around those guys. It was just such a nice breath of fresh air to see our offense compatible. We had three touchdowns in the first half. We didn't even have three touchdowns in the first half in any game in 2024. But Bryce Underwood looks good. You know who also looks good? Justice Haynes. I had big expectations for Justice Haynes coming into this season, and man, so far he put on a clinic. He had 16 carries, 159 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Man, I'm loving this pickup, and I'm glad because the guy I thought would be our guy, Jordan Marshall, kind of was pretty disappointing. He didn't step up. Only had 29 rushing yards on the same amount of carries. It just felt like every time we gave Jordan Marshall the ball, he would just run up and just get nothing. Which is a bit annoying because it just reminds me of last year with Donovan Edwards. And then whenever we gave it to Kalel Mullings, he would make things happen. I hope it's not the same thing, but if it is, Justice Haynes has got to be running back one. He already is, but I think he's got to be in there more often. Because, man, dude can ball. Marlon Klein, turns out, he's great. And I like that we're actually throwing it to receivers, giving it to new guys like Channing Goodwin, the transfer from Indiana, Donovan McCulley, and try to get it to Fred Moore, but he dropped the ball. And Kendrick Bell. But other than that, man, I'm going to go through one thing that I like and dislike about each side of the ball. Okay, offense. Thing that I like about the offense is, man, we're actually getting drives together and scoring. And we're more aggressive, too. We're actually throwing it on some first downs instead of just every single time on first down we would just hand it off like every single game with Jim Harbaugh. Not that I'm dissing Jim Harbaugh or anything, just pointing it out. But it was there would be first down. Literally, the very first play of Bryce Underwood's career, he throws a screen pass and it went for a first down. So very, very happy about that. Thing I don't like about the offense, a little disappointed by the receivers a little bit. They have a tendency to have some butterfingers. Marlon Klein had some drops. Fred Moore had that one drop. I know Samaj Morgan did as well. There's a lot of times where Bryce Underwood, now, he wasn't accurate all the time, but there was times where it was in the receiver's hands. Now, here's the philosophy that I believe for a receiver. If the ball is incomplete, if it is the receiver's fault, if they had both hands on the ball at any point. If they had both hands on the ball, it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you should catch the ball. If the quarterback throws it to you, you have both hands on it and you drop it, that's on the receiver. But if the receiver can't get his hands on it, that's on the quarterback. Now, that happens sometimes. Bryce Underwood just would throw the ball. And, sometimes he wasn't accurate. He had those moments. But there was times where he was accurate and the receiver just couldn't catch it. I don't know, because Bryce Underwood has got a missile of an arm. Now, I don't know if it's just they're not used to his kind of throwing style and how fast he just slings that ball. But I hope they get used to it because, man, I don't want us to be like what Georgia was last year and just had so many drops the entire season. But hopefully that gets cleaned up. Now let's go on to the defense. Something I like about the defense, run defense was very good. New Mexico only had 50 rushing yards all game. But had some frustrations on defense, definitely. To be honest, I was a little just. I need to sit down. I was slightly disappointed about the defense. Now, overall, the defense played great. They had 200 some total yards. They had 3 turnovers. But man, so many penalties, so many penalties. Like, I don't know how many offsides were called. I don't know. Like, there's so many of those. There was pass interferences. Michigan had 8 penalties tonight, which is just something which is very rare for Michigan. Now, if you remember last year, Michigan had a problem with penalties toward the beginning of the season, but as the year went on, they got a lot better. Now, I know this defense is going to get better as the season goes on. We saw that last year, but first game jitters definitely. Had some great playmakers on that defense. Cole Sullivan, the number 23 guy on the defense, was pretty much all over the place. Metcalf as well. I believe he's related to DK Metcalf. I could be wrong. I believe he's a transfer from Arkansas. But, man, he was great too. We just had these great players on the defense. But, man, there was just so many times. New Mexico, man, we could not stop the pass. So far, this passing defense from Michigan, a little lackluster. New Mexico, that quarterback Jack Lane, was just throwing the ball like anywhere, and man, that receiver Dorian Jackson or whatever, I can't remember his name. The number 7 guy, Dorian Jackson, one of those two. Dude, he had like two touchdowns, and that trick play New Mexico pulled on us was like actually crazy. It was 4th and 1. New Mexico was lined up like it was gonna be like a QB sneak. Instead, they snap the ball, goes under the quarterback's legs, perfectly bounces to the running back. He picks it up and throws it to the end zone to a receiver for a touchdown. I saw that, and I was like, wow, okay, that was actually a good trick play. And it was perfectly executed. But New Mexico's offensive drives were very weird. It was either they went 3 and out or / committed a turnover. If they didn't do that, it was like a 10-minute drive. It was just so weird. If it wasn't a 3 and out, Michigan just struggled to get off the field. Now, obviously, I have to talk about that horrible defensive possession in the second half when we sack Jack Lane, and it looked like he fumbled, and we picked it up and took it in for a touchdown. In real time, I was like, I'm pretty sure he was down. And then they're reviewing it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're just going to see if they're going to say he's down, because we knew. All of a sudden, the announcers just start talking about targeting. And I'm like, the thing that pissed me off the most about that, first of all, it wasn't targeting. It was a bullshit call. Jayshon Barham was not targeting. Like, literally was not. And obviously, people are going to agree and disagree with that. I mean, it's such a subjective thing. But it was not targeting. And now because of that, he's going to be out for the first half of the Oklahoma game next week when he's like our best player on defense for a stupid bullshit call. So that's the first down. Later, on a 3rd down, they throw a pass to the sideline, which was incomplete. They rule it a catch, but if you looked at it, he didn't have control of it. And instead of the side judge or the review official stopping it, take a look, they just let it go. That drive, man, the refs were pretty bad. I mean, there was calls that were good, but man, it really was looking like the refs were favoring New Mexico in this game. Now, obviously, I'm going to say that because it's my team that's being affected, but it really, truly felt like that. I mean, that horrible targeting and that catch that wasn't a catch, but they just said, oh, it's a catch. And it's just, how is it that, it must be a rule that I'm not familiar with, but I just think it's terrible. How is it that, first of all, I'm talking about the targeting on Jayshon Barham. How is it that you can throw a flag? No. How is it that you can just all of a sudden just review, oh yeah, it's targeting. And they didn't even throw a flag when it happened. You know why? Because it wasn't targeting. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to look at it for targeting. It's like, then why didn't you throw the flag? What, you could just magically just look at a play like 10 minutes after it happened and be like, yeah, that's targeting. I mean, what, are we going to be playing Ohio State later this year, and then it's like, all right, roughing the passer on Michigan for something they did back in the New Mexico game. It's like, dude, you can't just call a flag whenever you just randomly like, yeah, that's a penalty. If it happens, throw the damn flag. That's what pisses me off the most about it. And also, our best defensive player is going to be out for the first half of next week for a shitty call, frankly. But Dominic Zavada, our superstar kicker, once again, amazing. He made all of his PATs. He attempted 2 field goals, was perfect. And yeah, this is why we're really happy he came back. Like, if we're gonna be in a field goal situation, this is the kind of guy that we need. Dominic Zavada is an amazing kicker. No clue who the punter's name is. I said that in the halftime video. Still don't know who he is. But overall thoughts, like, make a long story short, very impressed with Bryce Underwood. I really like the aggressive play calling. Defense, the defense was good. It had its bad moments, but definitely they need to clean up penalties. And man, New Mexico, I think New Mexico could be a good team this year in the Mountain West. They look better. I mean, they have these players. Obviously, they weren't going to win this game because they're up against Michigan. But, like, when they're playing the teams in their conference, I feel like New Mexico they could win. Maybe they could be in contention for the Mountain West Championship. Because we know it won't be Boise State, goodness sakes. But very impressed with Bryce Underwood. Very, very excited about this offense, man. It is just so nice to finally have some enthusiasm about this offense. I know I'm not worried about the defense. Now, the defense struggled a little bit and has some discipline issues with penalties. And for some reason, they kept like fighting with the New Mexico players, which I don't know why. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I don't know if New Mexico is playing tough, or maybe the coach was like, yeah, just like try to get all up in their business and maybe they'll shove you and we'll get a free penalty or something. I don't know if it was just mind games. Luckily, we never got a flag for something a lot like that. But going into next week, we got Oklahoma. So I feel way different this year going into the second game than I did last year. If you remember my video about when we beat Fresno State last year, I said I have no confidence going into this Texas game. They're going to absolutely destroy us, which they ended up doing. I feel different this year. I actually have confidence going into this Oklahoma game. If it's obviously a road game, it's going to be a different environment for Bryce Underwood. But if he can play like how he did today, there's no reason why we can't win that game next week. Defense just really has to clean things up with penalties and just every time, I just felt like we get to a third down, all of a sudden New Mexico just did this dump pass, and they would just take it for a first down. Tackling's got to get better, definitely, in penalties. But other than that, pretty happy about today's game, and I'm very excited about this offense this year. I'm very happy. Definitely looking forward for Bryce Underwood and Justice Haynes. Those are the 2 biggest guys I'm very excited about. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you next week for when we take on Oklahoma. All right, bye-bye.